Hey YouTube, Prof Sales coming at you with the video. It's Thursday, February 16th, 2017, and we are off and running on another beautiful day here in Charlotte. A little chillier, but still nice. And this is going to be part of our beginner series. We've been doing this all week, 30-minute video, and about 20 minutes where I introduce a topic, and then about 10 minutes for questions and comments. So I'm gonna make sure everybody can hear me okay. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me all right. I'm just now finally getting over this cold, I think. And Karin, unfortunately, has caught it. So, you know, that's how it goes sometimes. But she usually heals faster than I do. So I'm sure she'll be fine in just a short amount of time, hopefully, compared to me. But yeah, so today we're going to talk about going wide versus going deep on eBay. And I'm going to recap the week a little bit. So we started this week talking about, let me pull my show notes here. We started this week talking about getting started, reselling. Karin started you guys off. Then we talked about organization. We talked about refreshing your old listings. But one thing we really didn't talk about too much was, what do you sell? How should you approach selling on eBay or Amazon or Poshmark or whatever platform you're on? And you know, this is like a topic that probably is kind of controversial in the reselling community, only because if you've talked to 50 people in this community about what you should sell, you're going to get 50 different opinions. And while you know, the tried and true wisdom of, you know, nobody's totally right or totally wrong is probably correct. There are some different approaches and some things you need to consider. And one of the biggest parts of deciding what to sell is figuring out whether you're going to go wide or you're going to go deep on a certain category. So I want to talk about what those mean and maybe how you can apply them to your business and what you're doing. For those of you who watch me, you probably already know how I come down on this subject, but I'm still going to talk about both of them and give you my feedback. So, all right, going wide versus going deep. So what does this mean? To go wide means you take the approach that you're going to sell anything and everything you can that's within your sourcing budget that's profitable for the time and energy you've got to put into it. Now, that could be a lot of different things. But to give you an example, let's say you go to a yard sale. And this person who is running the yard sale, they've got some clothing, they've got some car parts, they have some video games, some home electronics, some decorative statues. You may literally, because you think the items look good, take the time to research on the spot, or if you already know, all of those items to find out if they're worth selling for the price this person is going to ask for them. That's kind of going wide. You could do the same thing in a thrift store. You could do the same thing in an estate sale. You could do the same thing in a retail store. You could do that really anywhere you want. You're going wide in terms of you're throwing a wide net in hopes of catching any and everything out there that you see that can be sold for a profit that is worth it to you. That's going wide. Going deep means that you focus more on one category of a type of item, or maybe even a few types, but let's just stick with one type. For instance, in my case, you know, we made a focus on denim. So we've gone deep into denim and finding all the various denim brands there are, which ones will sell for which amounts, which sizes are best, which designs, which fits, you know, all really focusing in on one niche, so to speak, and then really going down and really expanding into that niche as far as you can go. You like that visual there with my hand towards the camera? I just realized that looked really weird. But those are two different approaches, and they're not mutually exclusive, and that's what I really wanted to talk to you guys about today. So I think that when you start selling, most people, with the way their mind works, and just to save time, in my opinion, I think it makes more sense to find a niche and to go deep in it. The reason being is that it's easier to focus in on a category or two or three and really learn those categories inside and out. And what do I mean by learn them? I mean that you know what the brands are, what the items are, what makes and models you need to be looking for, what color, what year, what vintage, what they're going to sell for, what a good price to buy them for is, how long you're going to sit on them, how you're going to be able to pack them and ship them. So I'll give you an example with denim. Like, we know that with denim, for instance, that pretty much 99% of all items that we sell in denim will fit in this envelope. And I know that it's going to cost me $6.30 to ship this envelope to anywhere in the United States, or using the global shipping program, I can ship to countries around the world. That allows me to know what my shipping cost is going to be and plan my business accordingly. I know that if I sell this many items, it's going to cost me this much to ship them. That's a great advantage versus if I was doing, say, calculated shipping, and yes, the person would be paying it on the back end, but I've got to factor in my cost of goods, and I've got to factor in different box sizes and so on, and different packages. I know that this will hold so many of the items that I want to ship that I don't need to invest in too many other poly bags and boxes and packing materials and things like that. So that's one advantage of a niche. It allows you to really focus in on how you're going to sell that category of item, and what you can get for it, how much it's going to cost you to sell it. And I think that's the best approach for most people to start with. Now, having said that, here's where I'm probably going to get somebody say, but Prof, you're contradicting yourself. So when you start out with a niche, you're going deep in one category. We'll just say one category for now. It might be two or three, but we'll just say one. But at some point, you're going to run into a little bit of a logistical hurdle. And that hurdle is, depending on how deep your sourcing is for that category around you and what you can get your hands on, you may not be able to grow your business but so much. For instance, so let me explain that. So let's say you started a reselling business and you decided to niche comic books, we'll say, for example. And you decided you wanted to flip comic books. Now, there are probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of comic books, individual titles out there. But one particular hurdle you might run into is a lot of comic books these days are not worth a tremendous amount of money unless they've got some decent age on them. You may find that in your local area, it may become more and more difficult to find comic books that are worth the time and the money you're going to put into them to buy them and acquire them and then resell them. So you may run into a sourcing hurdle that you just cannot source any more than you're getting now to grow your business. Now, there may be other opportunities for you to source outside of your area, but that's going to require time and travel possibly, or more research or expense than you're willing to put in. So you may decide that, well, because comic books, I've kind of exhausted my supply around me in my current sourcing and what I can reasonably get my hands on, I'm going to widen my niche and move into, say, action figures. Action figures and comic books would be a decent symbiotic relationship there, because a lot of action figures have their origin in comic book stories and so on. Not all, but a lot of them do. So it wouldn't be hard that if where you were getting your comic books from, you might be able to find action figures there as well, because a lot of people, you're going to find people who collect both, basically, and have both available. So that would be an example of, you started in one niche, but you realized that that niche was only going to take you so far. You had to widen out your scope. You had to widen your scope to find a different part, not the exact same niche, but at least another component to your reselling business so that you can grow. And people get mistaken when I talk about niching down, because they think that, I mean, you should never sell anything else. Like people say, oh, you never sell anything but jeans. That's not true. The point is that it gave me a huge springboard to where I could build a business around it and then branch out into other things. And I think that's the best way to do it, because the way most people's brain work, I think it's easier to learn a category of items than it is to learn a little bit about a tremendous amount of categories. You know, because like I'm a denim reseller, but say tomorrow I wanted to start selling, three new categories, and I decided I was going to sell antiques, car parts, and iPhones. You know, those are three completely different categories that I know next to nothing about. Could I learn them? Of course I could, but it's going to be quite a learning curve. And when you multiply that learning curve times 3, you really struggle there. Now, I know that my good friend Chad is going to say, hey, one of the ways to be successful in this business is never walk by money. And to a large extent, I think that's correct. The challenge comes in, guys, is that when you're walking through a sourcing opportunity and you're trying to look at everything that's available to you, what's your plan? Are you really going to research and scan everything? Are you going to look everything up? Like, let's say you walk into a thrift store. You walk into a Goodwill or a Savers. I mean, there are thousands of items in one of those stores. It doesn't really make sense that if you walked in brand new, day one of your reselling career, and you said, here I am in a Goodwill, I'm going to look at virtually every item in here and look it up. You couldn't do it. I mean, you couldn't do it in the time, even if you got there and the store open until it closed, you wouldn't have enough time. And it wouldn't be profitable. It makes a lot more sense to find a category or two, do some research offline, looking through solds and completeds on your e-commerce platform of your choice, and then you go into the store and you start looking for those items, those brands. And you're going to find that your eye is going to develop that, you know, I can look and see a pair of jeans now, for instance, and make a decent determination. If it's a brand I've never heard of, I can make a decent determination of whether it's a quality pair of jeans or not. And if it's a quality pair of jeans, it's probably got some value. That didn't happen overnight. I mean, that happened after a lot of research, looking through thousands and thousands of pairs of jeans, looking things up, you know, selling things, answering people's questions, looking at other resellers' stores. All those things took a lot of time and energy. But I think if you if you really want to be successful with niches and then widening your scope, I think the best course of action for most people is to find that niche or two, focus on those for a while, learn them really well. You're never going to learn everything about them, but you're going to learn them pretty well. You can take the lessons you learn on how you learned and apply that to the next niche and the next niche and the next one and the next one. And that's going to serve you really well. So I think when you start out narrow, but deep into a category, and then you widen out as you go. If you start wide, which a lot of people do, and you scan everything, you try to look at everything, you try to find everything that's going to make you money, which I don't think is the right approach to this business anyway. I don't think you should walk into a sourcing opportunity and think, I'm going to find everything here that's going to make me money. That may be a result, but really what I think you should do is you should walk into that opportunity and say, I'm going to learn everything I can about the items that are here in the time I have. And because guess what, guys? When you walk into a new sourcing opportunity, and by new sourcing opportunity, it could be somewhere you've been 1,000 times, you just haven't gone in this section much. Most of the things you find are not going to be worth your time and energy to sell. Most. The majority. So it's not like, oh, I'm just going to walk in this Goodwill and rip it up and walk out of here with 1,000 items. That's not very likely. More likely than not, you know, you're going to spend a large part of your time finding out what's not worth your time to sell. So I think if you walk in though and you say, all right, I've got these niches, but today I'm selling jeans, but today I'm going to go over and I'm going to spend 15 minutes in the shoes. And I'm going to look at some shoes, and I'm going to look at a few, and I'm going to look a few up on my phone and see if they make sense or not to buy. And I'm going to learn something, and maybe I'll make a purchase or two if I can, you know, validate it given what I see here. And guess what? When you do that, you're going to make some bad buys. You're going to buy items that are, you get home and you think, oh man, this was an awesome item. And then you get home and see, oh, it's got a crack in it. It's got a defect. It doesn't work. It's got a stain, whatever it is that you didn't notice in the store, or it just wasn't what you thought it was in the store. And you're going to realize it's not worth what you thought. And maybe it's even worth nothing. That's okay. That's part of the process. But I think if you start out narrow with a niche, you have to kind of widen your approach. But I also think if you start out wide, you need to narrow down into some niches, guys. I mean, you kind of have to do it both ways to really get good at this reselling game. Because as you do that, you're going to be able to walk into areas where, I mean, here's two scenarios for you. Again, being a jeans reseller, suppose I walk into a store that has 20,000 pair of jeans in it. I don't know what kind of store that would be, but suppose I did. All right, I'm in a niche, but I'm going to have to go wide that day to see everything, because man, 20,000 pair of jeans is a ridiculous pair of jeans. So it's going to take me a while to kind of go through all that. I'm going to have to use my eye and my experience to discount some of those without, you know, having any extra, without looking them up, because I can't possibly look up 20,000 pair of jeans. And I'm just going to be pulling some that I already know are great, and then a bunch of other ones I'm just going to know are not so great. You know, what's valuable in this business is being able to not pick up something because you know there's a good chance it's not worth anything. That's valuable too. You know, going back to the point, hey, don't walk by money. Be able to walk by not money. That's important too, because your time is important. And I know you're not going to know everything at the beginning. Nobody does, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And I'm telling you, I have picked up way more jeans than I've ever bought. I have put more jeans in my cart than I've actually bought, and then put some back. I've donated probably 20% as many jeans as I've bought. Well, maybe not 20%, but probably 10. So that's going to happen. But you've got to be able to niche down, I think, to start. And then after you start, you can kind of widen that focus in some other niches with what you've learned in the niche you were in. So, all right. Woo, man, that was a lot of talking. And this cold is still getting me a little bit, but man, I'm a lot better than I was. So if you guys have questions and so on, please type them in the chat. Just type the word question or 3 question marks, something like that. And you guys can, you know, we'll try to answer them, whether it's about this topic or not. When I started this series, I was like, I don't only want to talk about this topic. And then I thought, nah, that's not really fair. People are going to have other questions. So if you got other questions too, we got about 10, 11 minutes left in the show, and I'll answer them best I can. Yeah, Good Use Good says, you just sort of, you get to the point where you look less and less up. That's it, man. I mean, time. That's the commodity you've got to save in this business. That's the one that is so priceless. And if you can save time by not looking something up, that's just as valuable as looking something up that's worth something. What does that say? ACOG scopes for $90 each and sold them for $350. Is that a denim brand? Bargains? I don't think I've heard of that one, believe it or not. ACOG? Sounds like a niche denim brand. That's a great thing about denim, by the way. There's a lot of niche, whatever. So a lot of niche brands out there that go for good money because there's people who just like them, and then they can't find them. We found this one. I'll share one with you today. I guess a little bolo, whatever. anyway, these are, maybe we've already shared this one. I feel like we have. But anyway, this is making sure I say it right. Rocky Outdoor Gear. These are actually carpenters. You can see. So these are, and they're good size, like a 48. So these are nice, like a heavy duty work pant. Probably sell for about 30, maybe even 35 bucks. So there's a nice little bolo for you if you see them out. And believe it or not, it's a 48-32, and I had to work, but this will fit in a padded flat rate just barely. It's not pretty, trust me. The post office, my post office is going to kill me when they see that package. Let's see here. I was at my local gun shop. Don't usually stop there for thrifting. Yeah, that might be a little tricky. What is the best scanner app? That's a great question. I mean, the eBay app, I honestly will obviously tell you things about eBay's listings. I have in the past used, oh, Karin sent me a message. Gun scopes. That was funny. I thought you were talking about jeans. I thought ACOG, I thought I remember that from Call of Duty. That was like a gun, but I wasn't going to say anything. Let's see. The one I like to use is, I'll use Scoutify as a scanner app too. It comes with if you have Inventory Labs, it comes free with it. It's pretty good for Amazon. But just the eBay app itself, looking things up, I would just use that one. I don't know who that is. Prof, are you doing auctions yet? No, not really. I mean, every once in a while I'll do a one-off on like a random brand, Krillin, but not too many. So I don't know. Do you have any videos on taking good eBay item photos? Let me know. Yes, Blitzen. Karin has done a couple. The how to list jeans on eBay. It's getting a little dated now, but that video gets a tremendous amount of interest in it. How to list jeans on eBay. If you search my channel, you should see that. And it's actually pretty good still. I mean, that's how we would do the photos, but photos are just a matter of like your backdrop, your lighting, and your camera. You know, you get those things right, the rest of it kind of takes care of itself. Let's see here. Barcode lookup. Kid One says, how much do you gross per month? It depends on the month. You know, we have shared pretty much our denim sales and so on. Not all of our sales are complete from our business, but you know, we were pushing 10,000 in denim, close to it, back in October, I think was our best month last year. And it's dropped off since then, more like 6 last month. And it'll probably be even lower than that in denim sales this month. This month is really slow for sure. Let's see. Karin answering the question. It's funny, you guys. I always have to remember the chat's 30 seconds behind what I'm saying, so it's kind of tricky. Lauren says, yeah, lighting and photos is key. Yep, absolutely agree. I mean, if you don't get the lighting right, nothing else really matters. Doesn't matter how good your camera is. I mean, great lighting can make even a crappy camera look good. But bad lighting will, even a good camera won't help you much. I mean, it's just so hard to get it right. Sadie's in the house. What's up, Bubba? Someone says, have you always just sold jeans? No, that's for sure, Macca's mom. I did not. I've not only sold jeans. Jeans has been a primary component, but because of my history and my past, which I've talked about a few times, I'm not going to go into it all here, but I think the idea of finding a niche is so important. I just think that when you get started reselling, I think you give yourself a better chance of success if you find a niche or two based on your own experiences and your mindset and your business model versus trying to go wide. I think trying to go wide frustrates people. I think they get out there and they get analysis paralysis. They like, I don't know, this I'm scanning this and this is this, I'm scanning that and that says that. I just think that's really hard for a lot of people, especially if you're doing clothing, because clothing is so brand specific, so fit specific, so fickle with the way trends change. And when you get into clothing and you try to sell all clothing, oh, I mean, you know, our friends down in the upstate of South Carolina, you know, they sell a tremendous amount of women's brands. And to hear Tiffany talk about the women's brands makes my head spin, because I'm like, I realize I do not even know any of these brands she's talking about. And I would be so far behind the curve trying to learn that. And it's something she's learned over a decade. So, you know, I'm giving myself a little break here. It's not like she learned it overnight, but it just really, I think going the niche route and then expanding out, I think is going to make you, give you a better chance of success than going the other way around. But to each their own. It's not a right or wrong decision. It's just the one I think makes the most sense. Let's see. A lot of people are saying sales are really low. Can you think of any reason why? Yeah, I can tell you exactly why. I tell you what, it's really simple. When I was in retail management, January and February were slow months for us. And the reason is because after Christmas, a lot of people have a bit of a hangover. And what I mean by that is they have a financial hangover. The credit card bills come. You know, they feel a little remorse in spending so much sometimes. They realize they just added more money to their debt. You know, they hurt their net worth, so to speak. And they're just not in a money spending mood anymore. I mean, Christmas is such a buildup. 40% of the sales happen in November and December of the year. And then January and February just take a hit. And then March, you know, people start coming back because they start thinking about spring and spring break and, you know, all kinds of things like that. And it's cold. People don't want to go out and spend money. I mean, even online, you know, yeah, you can do that from the comfort of your home, but it's just a mindset that we've developed in our culture. Let's see here. Let's see. Lauren says after tax season it will pick up. Yep, that's true too. Yeah, and you do see a pickup in the middle or the beginning of springish, and then around summertime, like into May, it's going to die off again. People will get tax returns. That's true. People will spend a little bit, you know, but it depends on what you're selling. I mean, I don't know what the mindset is. I think the average tax return is maybe what, $1,800, $2,000, something like that. In the United States, I don't know if people get that money and think about buying clothing. Maybe they do. I don't really know, but I think a lot of times people slot tax return money for maybe a bigger purchase. But maybe they think, well, I got more money in my pocket in general, and you know, I'm going to spend this $1,000 on this new Mac. I can still spend the $30 on, you know, some clothes on eBay. But I don't know what exactly the mindset there. Let's see. Bargain says, my sales are slow, but I blame it on taking days off from being sick and kid stuff. I feel you. I mean, my productivity the last few days has not been that great, but to be honest, I have not felt like it. And, you know, at some point you got to weigh off, you know, I'm like, do I delay getting better by trying to work my butt off, even though I'm sick as a dog, or do I try to get well, or do I do somewhere in the middle? I don't know. People get that money and can't wait to spend it. Yeah, well, that's true. It's funny, tax returns. It's like you get to give your money to the government for free for a whole year and they don't get paid any interest on it. Somehow you're happy when they give it back to you. Kind of weird logic when you think about it. But they love it. That's for sure. But it doesn't really make any sense if you really stop and think about it. It was your money all along. Let's see. Okay, so all right, guys. Well, look, we're right at the half hour. thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. 70, 80 people came out. That's great. Awesome turnout on the middle of the day. Leave me a comment or question down below. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's show is about mindset. Dun, dun, dun. Mindset. And we'll talk about that a little more in depth. Karen's giving me the comment here. One more question. All right, well, what's the question? I don't see the question, Karen. She's upstairs. Does anyone know of a good place to source online, not wholesale? You can source on eBay. You can source on Amazon. People do Amazon to eBay flips, eBay to Amazon flips. There's ways to do that. People sell things sometimes for less than what they are in another marketplace. So try that. I don't really do any of it, but there are people who do it. And it works. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the content, guys, before you leave, and lets me know I'm doing a good job, and YouTube as well. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. Keep grinding away, keep plugging away. I mean, you know, the race is won mainly by people who just don't give up and persevere. So don't quit. All right, I will see you guys really soon. It's Prof Sales saying good sales to you.